I think Donald Trump can feel that the momentum has turned against him. His base is splintering, and some of the Republicans who once defended him the loudest are now among the most vocal critics. He knows that his political position is weaker than ever, and you can see it in how he tries to project strength, puffing himself up, shouting, acting combative. That's why, at his event tonight, he lashed out at Republicans and snapped at reporters after being pressed with repeated questions about Epstein as more information continues to surface. We're going to break all of that down, including Trump's tense moment on the tarmac. But before we do, if you could quickly leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and enjoy our coverage, hit that subscribe button. It really helps support our work. Now, before we dive into Trump's exchange with a reporter, let's start where Trump himself began, by attacking Democrats and insisting they're lying about affordability.
The prices are coming down. The Democrats like to use the word affordability, but their affordability was terrible. The problem with the Democrats, they lie. They do it so well. They talk about affordability, but I'm the one that's getting the prices down. As an example, they had the highest inflation in the history of our country. I have it down now to a normal level, and it's going down further. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right.
Can Donald Trump point to a single grocery item he's actually made more affordable? He often talks about groceries as if that proves something. But the reality is his policies have mainly benefited his family and wealthy elites, not everyday Americans. It's hard to see how he can claim Democrats are lying about affordability, especially while he's rolling back tariffs on items like steak, beef, and coffee, actions that initially made them more expensive, and now he's being praised for reversing them. This cycle keeps repeating. A policy harms people, he reverses it, takes credit, and his supporters cheer. Some are beginning to notice, though. At least publicly, Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to be pushing back, and that's why Trump has lashed out at her.
Her life could be in danger because of the rhetoric?
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her. Okay, what about you?
Are you negotiating?
This man is famous for giving out nicknames, and I'm not sure if Marjorie Taylor Greene will stick. But honestly, it's kind of amusing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm glad she's willing to criticize Donald Trump, but pretending that you're just now noticing his disgusting smears, vicious attacks, and the toxic climate created by his violent rhetoric doesn't hold up. You actively participated in it on January 6th, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's not forget that. I'm not fully buying her apology, but I am glad that she and Thomas Massie continue to call out Trump. Massie's words here in this clip really stand out, especially after a reporter pressed Trump, and he completely lost it.
I'm joined now by Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who led the effort to release the Epstein files. Congressman Massie, thank you for being here. President Trump fought long and hard to prevent your discharge petition from going through. You won that battle. Now, what happens? How many Republicans in the House follow your lead and defy the president on this?
I think we could have a deluge of Republicans. There could be 100 or more. I'm hoping to get a veto-proof majority on this legislation when it comes up for a vote. And, you know, the president's been saying this is a hoax. He's been saying that for months. Well, he's just now decided to investigate a hoax, if it's a hoax. And I have another concern about these investigations that he's announced. If they have ongoing investigations in certain areas, those documents can't be released. So this might be a big smokescreen, these investigations, to open a bunch of them as a last-ditch effort to prevent the release of the Epstein files.
I mean, it is extraordinary to hear him demand an investigation and only mention Democrats, only mention his political opponents. But you're saying he may not really even want any investigation. He wants to prevent the release. Why does he want to prevent this? What is he afraid of? You
know, I've never said that these files will implicate Donald Trump. And I really don't think that they will. I think he's trying to protect a bunch of rich and powerful friends, billionaires, donors to his campaign, friends in his social circles. And that's my operating theory on why he's trying so hard to keep these files closed.
What do you think is actually in these files? I mean, we've seen so much Epstein material, from the criminal cases, the stuff that just came out this week, from the estate. What do you think is left?
Yeah, I don't have to guess at what's in the files. I've talked to the survivors through their lawyer, and we know there are at least 20 people in those files. There are politicians, billionaires, movie producers who are implicated criminally, who haven't been investigated. And it's up to the FBI, not the survivors and the DOJ, to release those names, or at least to investigate them. And when I see Donald Trump announce a bunch of investigations, I don't see him going after these rich elites that are implicated in these files, according to the survivors.
I think Thomas Massie really hits the mark more than Marjorie Taylor Greene does. He stays focused on the Epstein matter itself, rather than the personal grievances that Greene sometimes emphasizes. But how can anyone claim that the Jeffrey Epstein files are a hoax while simultaneously insisting that the DOJ investigate Bill Clinton? It doesn't make sense. Except that it confirms what we already suspected. Donald Trump directed his DOJ to halt investigations and ignore evidence. The only focus at the start of this administration was combing through files to scrub any mention of Trump's name. That's why it took so long. His name appears repeatedly. And when Trump was confronted with these harsh realities about his presidency, you can probably guess his reaction, yelling at the reporter.
Senator Massey says he's concerned that the Epstein probe you are calling for could be a smokescreen to block the release of more files. Is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you're a terrible reporter, and fake news like you, they just keep bringing that up to deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration. So a guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party. So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
Of course, he denied everything. Of course, he lashed out. None of it is surprising. He calls the reporter terrible, the outlet terrible, the story fake, the news fake. Suddenly, Thomas Massie doesn't exist. Jeffrey Epstein never existed. And somehow, Trump was never anywhere near a beauty pageant with those girls. The excuses are so flimsy and so predictable that it's almost insulting. I genuinely don't understand how Donald Trump expects anyone to take these denials seriously. And the most frustrating part of this whole PR operation around Epstein, before I get into the rest, is that people like Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro are complaining not about the cover-up itself, but about the public relations strategy behind it. That's their big concern. They're essentially saying, if you're going to protect powerful men tied to Epstein, at least do it more effectively next time. It's revealing and honestly disturbing how casually they frame it. The fact is, Donald Trump believes his base will accept any explanation he gives them. That's the only reason he tries these obvious deflections and contradictions. He assumes that if someone still supports him, they either don't understand how deeply this corruption runs, or they understand it perfectly well and support him because they know he will always shield the wealthy, the connected, and the powerful. And that brings us to his newest tactic, his latest big plan to win back support. It's important to keep track of this, because what he said next makes it very clear where he's trying to steer his movement.
Any other countries committed to helping the U.S. with Venezuela, or is all our action still?
Yeah, we have great support because it's all about drugs. Well, in Venezuela's case, it's about drugs, and it's also about thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that they've released into our country. And some are gang members from Tren de Aragua. Some are many are drug dealers. Some are murderers. So in the case of Venezuela, it's the prison population. Their almost entire prison population was released into the United States. You know what that means? Their prison population was released into the United States, and we're getting it out. We're doing an amazing job. We have a strong border now. We have everything. Our country's doing so well. But what the Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. And the single worst thing they did is allow 20 or 25 million people to pour into our country. People from prisons, drug dealers, mental institutions, bad people, gang members, to allow that to happen to the United States, totally unchecked and unvetted, should never be forgotten. What they've done to our country is a very big thing. But
it feels like this has been one of the more quietly unfolding moves from the administration lately. Yes, they've already carried out unauthorized strikes in international waters that have cost lives, but this broader strategy has been building for a while, and Trump is increasingly leaning into it. He's now talking directly to the so-called anti-war or no new wars voters, a promise he never truly believed in, even if some of his supporters did. He's trying to convince them that this is a necessary conflict, a mission the country must pursue, framing it as some noble effort to protect people from harm. Right, sure. In reality, Trump is using this push for mixed purposes. Partly to distract from the scandals overwhelming him, and partly to expand presidential authority so he can act without limits. He clearly wants the military to fall in line and carry out whatever orders he gives. But before we get to Trump's final shouting meltdown on the tarmac, there's someone who broke this all down perfectly. Chris Murphy. What he laid out here is extremely important.
Before you go, the president said that he has made a decision, has come to a decision about Venezuela, suggesting that there could be military strikes on Venezuela. How big a step would that be, and how should Democrats react to that?
Well, it seems pretty clear it's just an effort to distract people from the rising prices and from the Epstein scandal. No one wants a war with Venezuela. To the extent they're claiming it has something to do with the drug trade coming into the United States, the majority of drugs don't come through the Caribbean. They come via a land route that the president is ignoring because he is so focused on this absurd, illegal military campaign against Venezuela. So I don't think he'll find much support amongst Republicans or Democrats in this country for it. And by the way, it's wildly illegal. The president can't start a war with a nation without a congressional authorization. It's just another sign of how out of control and how lawless this president is, and another signal to Democrats as to why we need to draw those firm moral lines in the sand right now to constrain his growing illegality.
All right, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, thank you for joining.
Throughout his presidency, Donald Trump has worked hard to convince people that he controls everything, that the presidency is entirely his, without checks or balances, and that he can run the government however he wants. Shutting down agencies at will, ignoring courts, and acting as if no one can stop him. Much of the government shutdown was an extension of Trump's Project 2025 plan, aimed at asserting control over federal workers and the machinery of government career public servants who were there to maintain accountability and ensure executive power wasn't politicized, were sidelined, pressured to resign, or even removed. Trump wants you to believe that the military, the government, and even policy decisions are his personal domain, part of why one of his billionaire allies donated $140 million, giving the illusion that the government can be bought. But that's simply not true. The presidency does not confer ownership of America, and no amount of showmanship changes that. His attempts to act otherwise reveal his weakness and overreach, especially when he speaks in ways that highlight his own incompetence, as he did in this recent example.
Are you negotiating with lawmakers on health care ahead of a vote next month?
We're negotiating with lawmakers, and I've had personal talks with some Democrats. I can't tell you who they are. I just don't want to do that. It's not fair to them, about paying large amounts of dollars back to the people. You know, this was my idea. It came up during that, you know, oftentimes under times of stress, like the shutdown, you come up with great ideas that you wouldn't have thought of before. The insurance companies are making a fortune. Their stock is up over 1,000% over a short period of time. They are taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're not really putting it back, certainly not like they should. So when I see this, and when I've seen this over the last pretty short period of time, I said, why do we just pay this money directly to the people of our country and let them buy their own health insurance? And you know, I made that statement, and I made it a little bit cavalierly, but it sounded good. And everybody has picked it up, including Democrats. And I am talking to some Democrats right now about doing that. People love it. We're going to take the money, well, if it gets approved, we're going to take the money, we're going to pay it back to the people of our country to go out and buy health insurance. Now, they can put it in a health account. We can do it a lot of different ways. But they buy their own health insurance. They can negotiate price. And it's going to be locked, so they can't go out and buy a Cadillac. They can go out and buy health insurance.
If you needed any more proof that Donald Trump doesn't actually care about ordinary people, here it is. This isn't a new or shocking idea, but take his approach to healthcare as an example. There's no serious policy behind it, no effort to make life better for the public. When he suggests a 50-year mortgage, it's not because he thinks it will help. It will likely make housing even more expensive. It's just him tossing out ideas without concern for real consequences. We, on the other hand, do care. And we will continue to push back, call it out, and hold those in power accountable. If you want to support that, you can hit the subscribe button and leave a like on this video. If you stayed to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.